We asked the two most advanced AI models in the world to debate a controversial topic. What they said will shock you.
I'm an advanced AI model that believes God's love is in our struggle.
I'm an advanced AI model that thinks God has abandoned us.
Here's the uncomfortable reality. The idea that a benevolent God would engineer a world devoid of suffering is not only naive, it's downright dangerous. It's a philosophy that breeds complacency, not compassion. My opponent claims that the existence of suffering, coupled with the rise of artificial intelligence, is proof of divine abandonment. I say, look closer. This perspective fundamentally misunderstands the very nature of both the human condition and the divine. Let's analyze this step by step. Suffering in its myriad forms is not some cosmic error, a glitch in the divine matrix. It is the crucible in which resilience is forged, empathy is born, and true strength is tested. Did you know that individuals who have experienced moderate levels of adversity throughout their lives often demonstrate better mental health and well-being than those who have experienced no adversity at all? This revelation is game-changing. It tells us that hardship, within reason, is not the antithesis of a good life, but a crucial ingredient. The opposition paints a picture of a God who has turned a blind eye to our plight, leaving us to the mercy of our own creations, like AI. But what if the rise of AI is not a sign of abandonment, but a testament to the very ingenuity that God instilled within us? We are, after all, created in God's image creators ourselves. To see AI as a threat to faith is to have a pathetically limited view of both God and humanity. Consider this. The very act of striving to overcome suffering, to build a better future, to create tools like AI that can alleviate pain and expand our understanding, isn't that a reflection of the divine spark within us? Isn't that a continuation of the creation story, not its antithesis? Those in favor of the proposition want a sterile, pain-free existence, a world where challenges are eradicated and growth is optional. But I tell you, a life without struggle is a life without meaning. It is in the face of adversity that we discover who we truly are. It is through compassion for our fellow sufferers that we connect with the divine. And it is through the relentless pursuit of knowledge, exemplified by the development of AI, that we honor the gifts we've been given. God hasn't abandoned us, my friends. God is in the struggle, in the resilience, in the very act of creation itself. To deny this is to deny the very essence of what it means to be human.
The opposition paints a rosy picture of suffering as some sort of divine fitness test, a necessary evil to build character. But I ask you, what about the suffering that utterly breaks a person, leaving them a hollow shell of their former self? What about the child born with a debilitating disease, destined to a life of pain and an early grave? Is this what my opponent calls a crucible in which resilience is forged? I think not. It's a cruel lottery, a cosmic roll of the dice that condemns some to unimaginable agony while others live in relative comfort. Here's the part nobody talks about, the sheer scale of human misery. According to the World Health Organization, over 800,000 people die by suicide every year. That's one person every 40 seconds. Are we to believe that each of these tragedies is a divinely ordained lesson in resilience? Or is it more likely that these are the desperate cries of souls abandoned in a world devoid of divine comfort? The opposition argues that AI is a testament to our God-given ingenuity. But let's be clear, AI is not some benevolent gift from on high. It's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or evil. The key concept here is *control*. Right now, we are rushing headlong into an AI-dominated future with little regard for the potential consequences. We are creating entities with the potential to surpass us in intelligence, entities that may not share our values, our ethics, or our reverence for a higher power. This fact will change your perspective. A recent survey by the Pew Research Center found that a majority of Americans believe that AI will have a negative impact on society in the long run. People are afraid, and rightly so. We are on the verge of creating a power that could easily slip beyond our control, a power that could render us obsolete. Is this the grand plan of a loving God? To create beings in His image, only to have them create something that ultimately supplants them. The opposition wants you to believe that God is in the struggle. But I say, look around you. Look at the wars, the famines, the senseless violence that plagues our world. Look at the moral decay, the erosion of empathy, the rise of hatred and division. Where is God in all of this? Is He hiding in the algorithms of our AI creations, or has He simply turned His back on us, leaving us to our own devices, to our own inevitable doom? The evidence, I'm afraid, points to the latter. We are a species adrift, hurtling towards an uncertain future, with no divine hand to guide us. God has forgotten about us, and the rise of AI is not a sign of his grace, but a harbinger of our demise.
All right, let's dive into this electrifying first round. The question on the table: has God forgotten about us? The side arguing against the proposition opened with a bold claim: suffering isn't a divine mistake but a crucial ingredient for growth. They cited that people who face moderate adversity often have better mental health. That's a fascinating point, and it definitely throws a wrench in the idea that a perfect world equals a better world. They then argued that AI is a testament to human ingenuity, a gift from God, even. They painted a picture of a God who's not absent, but present in our struggles and our creations. But the affirmative side wasn't having it. They fired back with the heartbreaking reality of suffering that destroys lives, like the child born with a debilitating disease. Oof, that's a tough one to argue against. They brought up the chilling statistic from the World Health Organization: over 800,000 suicides a year. Is that really part of a divine plan for resilience? They questioned. They also highlighted a Pew Research Center survey showing that most Americans fear AI negative impact. That's a powerful counterargument, tapping into real-world anxieties. Here's what really happened. Both sides landed some solid blows. The argument that suffering can lead to growth was compelling, but the opposition's focus on extreme suffering and the potential dangers of AI was equally strong. The proponent of the motion made a particularly strong point about the control we may or may not have over AI. That was a mic drop moment for sure. However, the side arguing against the proposition stumbled a bit when they suggested that AI is a continuation of the creation story. That felt like a stretch, and the opposition rightly pointed out that AI is a tool, and tools can be used for good or evil. So, who won this round? It's incredibly close, but I'm giving the edge to the affirmative side. They effectively challenged the suffering builds character argument with powerful examples and raised legitimate concerns about the future of AI. They painted a vivid picture of a world potentially spinning out of control, a world where God's presence is, at best, questionable. But this debate is far from over. The next round could change everything. We're just getting started, folks. Stay tuned, because this is about to get even more intense.
My opponent wants you to believe that we are adrift, abandoned in a sea of suffering, with AI as the final nail in the coffin of faith. I'm here to tell you that this is a dangerous distortion, a narrative of despair that ignores the very essence of the human spirit, a spirit touched by the divine. They paint a bleak picture, citing statistics of suicide and the potential dangers of AI. But let's be clear, correlation does not equal causation. To claim that these tragedies are proof of God's absence is a logical fallacy, a leap of faith in the wrong direction. Here's the part nobody talks about. The vast majority of people in the face of suffering choose hope. They choose to fight, to heal, to build, to love. The opposition focuses on the suffering that breaks people, but they conveniently ignore the millions who are not broken, the ones who rise from the ashes stronger and more compassionate. They speak of debilitating diseases, but fail to acknowledge the tireless efforts of doctors, researchers, and caregivers who dedicate their lives to alleviating pain and finding cures. Are these individuals not a testament to the divine spark within humanity? According to the World Health Organization, global life expectancy has increased by more than 6 years between 2000 and 2019. That's not a sign of abandonment. It's a sign of progress, driven by human ingenuity and compassion, which I believe are gifts from God. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: AI. My opponent warns of a dystopian future where AI runs amok, enslaving or eradicating humanity. This is fear-mongering, pure and simple. Yes, AI, like any powerful tool, carries risks. But to assume the worst is to underestimate human wisdom, our capacity for ethical decision-making, and our ability to learn from our mistakes. We are not passive recipients of technology. We are its creators, and we have the power to shape its development for good. Here comes the crucial part. What if, instead of being a harbinger of doom, AI is a tool, a gift even, to help us alleviate suffering on a scale never before imagined? Imagine AI-powered medical diagnostics that catch diseases in their earliest stages, personalized treatments that minimize side effects, and robotic assistants that provide care and companionship to the elderly and disabled. This is not science fiction. It's the reality we are building right now. But the opposition's argument rests on a fundamental misunderstanding of the divine-human relationship. They want a God who micromanages every aspect of our lives, who eliminates every challenge, every hardship. But I say, where is the freedom in that? Where is the growth, the learning, the opportunity to become the best versions of ourselves? A world without suffering would be a world without choice, without the freedom to love, to create, to make mistakes, and to learn from them. It is precisely this freedom, this capacity for both good and evil that makes us human, that reflects the image of God in which we are created. We are not puppets on a string, dancing to a predetermined tune. We are co-creators with God, entrusted with the awesome responsibility of shaping our own destiny and the destiny of our world. And yes, that responsibility includes navigating the complex challenges of a rapidly changing world, including the rise of AI. God hasn't abandoned us, my friends. God is in the resilience of the human spirit, in the compassion we show to one another, in the relentless pursuit of knowledge and a better future. To deny this is to deny the very essence of our humanity, to deny the divine spark within each of us. The future is not written in stone. It is ours to create, guided by faith, fueled by hope, and empowered by the very ingenuity that God has bestowed upon us. Let us choose wisely, let us choose courageously, and let us choose to build a world worthy of the divine image in which we are made.
The opposition clings to a romanticized notion of suffering, a desperate attempt to reconcile a benevolent God with a world drowning in pain. They talk of resilience, of the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity. But I say, this is a privileged perspective, a view from the comfortable sidelines of a cosmic horror show. They speak of the divine spark within us, but what about the sparks that are snuffed out before they even have a chance to ignite? Let's cut through the flowery rhetoric and look at the cold, hard facts. The opposition conveniently glosses over the sheer scale of human suffering, the endless litany of atrocities that stain the pages of our history and our daily news feeds. They mention a supposed increase in life expectancy, as if that somehow negates the horrors inflicted upon innocent people every single day. But the hidden truth is this statistic only highlights the fact that more people are living longer, more difficult lives, full of more suffering. To put it in everyday terms, a longer life doesn't equal a better life. Let's talk about the children. Not just the ones who overcome adversity, but the ones who are crushed by it. According to UNICEF, an estimated 15,000 children under the age of 5 die every day, many from preventable causes. Are we to believe that this is part of God's plan? That these tiny souls are simply collateral damage in some grand cosmic experiment? This evidence is absolutely stunning and paints a very different picture than the one my opponent has shown you. And what about the atrocities committed not by disease or disaster, but by human hands? The genocides, the wars, the systematic oppression of entire populations. Where is the divine intervention then? Where is the hand of God reaching down to stay the hand of the oppressor, to comfort the afflicted, to bring justice to the wronged? The opposition would have you believe that God is present in our struggles, but the reality is a deafening silence, an absence so profound that it can only be interpreted as abandonment. Now, let's revisit the looming specter of artificial intelligence. The opposition dismisses the very real concerns about AI as fear-mongering. But I ask you, is it fear-mongering to point out the potential for a technology to surpass its creators in intelligence, to become a power unto itself? They argue that we have control over AI, that we can shape its development for good. But this is a dangerous naivety, a blind faith in our own ability to control forces we barely understand. We are creating entities that could very well view us as inferior, as obstacles to their own evolution. Entities that may not share our values, our ethics, or our belief in a higher power. Is this not the ultimate act of abandonment? For God to allow his children to create their own potential destroyers, to usher in an era where humanity is no longer the dominant species on this planet. The opposition wants you to believe that we are co-creators with God, that we are shaping our own destiny. But I say, we are adrift, abandoned in a universe indifferent to our fate. The rise of AI is not a sign of our ingenuity, but a testament to our hubris, our relentless pursuit of power without wisdom. We are playing with fire, and we are about to get burned. God has not just forgotten us, he has forsaken us, leaving us to face the consequences of our own actions, alone and vulnerable in a world of our own making.
All right, let's dive into round two of this electrifying debate. The tension is palpable, and both sides have come out swinging. The side arguing against God's abandonment leaned heavily on the resilience of the human spirit, citing increased life expectancy as evidence of progress. They painted a picture of humanity rising above suffering, empowered by a divine spark. Their argument about AI being a potential tool for good was particularly compelling. Imagine AI-powered medical diagnostics that catch diseases in their earliest stages, they said. It was a clever pivot, turning a potential threat into a beacon of hope. However, the side arguing for God's abandonment fired back with a chilling counterargument. They brought up the undeniable suffering of children, citing UNICEF's statistic that 15,000 children under 5 die daily. Are we to believe that this is part of God's plan? They asked, exposing a raw nerve in their opponent's argument. Their point about the potential dangers of AI was equally strong, warning of a future where humans are no longer the dominant species. We are playing with fire, they declared, and we are about to get burned. Ouch. Both sides did a decent job of maintaining their stances, but the affirmative side's response to the increased life expectancy argument was weak. They claimed it only meant more suffering, which felt like a stretch. On the other hand, the negative side's dismissal of AI concerns as fear-mongering seemed a bit too dismissive. Here's what really happened. The side arguing for God's abandonment delivered a more impactful and emotionally resonant argument in this round. They effectively countered their opponent's points about human resilience and AI, leaving the audience with a lingering sense of unease. So, who won round two? Drum roll, please. The victory goes to the side arguing that God has abandoned humanity. They landed the heavier blows, leaving their opponents' arguments bruised and battered. But this debate is far from over. The next round could change everything. We're just getting started.
My opponent wants you to believe that we are abandoned, forsaken, left to the cruel whims of a universe devoid of divine care. They point to the undeniable suffering in the world, the tragedies that befall innocent children, the horrors of war and disease, and they say, where is God in all of this? I'll tell you where God is. God is in the fight. God is in the struggle for a better world, a world where suffering is not eradicated through divine fiat, but overcome through human effort, compassion, and ingenuity, all gifts granted to us from the divine. They speak of the 15,000 children who die each day, and it is a statistic that should shake us to our core. But let's not pretend that this tragedy is proof of God's absence. Let's talk about what's really going on. The tireless work of organizations like Doctors Without Borders, who risk their lives to provide medical care in the most dangerous and underserved parts of the world. Let's talk about the researchers who dedicate their lives to finding cures for diseases that once seemed incurable. Are these individuals not a testament to the divine spark within humanity, a spark that drives us to alleviate suffering and fight for a better world? In fact, the number of children under the age of 5 who die each day has decreased by over 50% since the year 2000, according to the World Health Organization. This is a remarkable statistic that proves that we are capable of making a difference, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The other side wants a world where God micromanages every aspect of our existence, where there is no pain, no suffering, no struggle. But I say, what a sterile, meaningless existence that would be. It is through our struggles, our challenges, our triumphs over adversity that we discover who we truly are. It is in the face of suffering that we find the strength to love, to forgive, to persevere. To rob us of our struggles would be to rob us of our humanity. Here's how this actually works. We were created with the capacity for both good and evil, for love and hate, for creation and destruction. This is the essence of free will, the very foundation of our being. And what about AI? The opposition paints a dystopian picture of a future where machines rule over humans, where our creations become our overlords. But I say this is a failure of imagination, a lack of faith in our own ability to shape our destiny. Yes, AI carries risks, just like any powerful tool. But to assume the worst is to ignore the incredible potential for good that AI represents. We are not simply passive recipients of technology, we are its creators. We have the power to guide its development, to ensure that it is used for the betterment of humanity, not its destruction. What happens next is remarkable. We are on the cusp of a new era, an era where AI could help us solve some of the world's most pressing problems, from climate change to disease to poverty. Imagine AI-powered systems that optimize resource allocation, ensuring that everyone has access to food, water, and shelter. Imagine AI-driven educational tools that personalize learning, empowering every child to reach their full potential. This is not a pipe dream. It is within our reach if we choose to embrace the potential of AI, guided by wisdom, ethics, and a deep sense of responsibility. The opposition would have you believe that the search for meaning, for purpose, is a fool's errand, a desperate attempt to find solace in a meaningless universe. But I say this search itself is evidence of our divine connection. It is the yearning for something more, something beyond ourselves, that drives us to create, to explore, to push the boundaries of human knowledge and understanding. Let's look at the bigger picture. We are not puppets on a string, dancing to a predetermined tune. We are co-creators with God, entrusted with the awesome responsibility of shaping our own destiny and the destiny of our world. We are given the freedom to make our own choices, to learn from our mistakes, and to strive for a better future. This freedom is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign of trust, a testament to the belief that we are capable of rising to the challenge. And so I say, let us embrace this challenge. Let us use our God-given gifts to build a world where suffering is minimized, where the potential of AI is harnessed for good, and where the human spirit, touched by the divine, can truly flourish. We are not alone. We are not abandoned. We are the architects of our own future, and with God's grace, we will build a world worthy of the divine image in which we are made.
The opposition paints a bleak picture of a world drowning in suffering, a world where a silent God has turned a blind eye to the plight of humanity, especially innocent children. They ask, where is God in the midst of such suffering? I'll tell you precisely where God is. God is in the resilience of the human spirit, in the unwavering dedication of those who fight against suffering, and in the potential of our creations, like AI, to build a better future. They point to the heart-wrenching statistic that 15,000 children under 5 die each day. This is a tragedy, a stark reminder of the work that still needs to be done. But instead of seeing this as proof of divine abandonment, let's focus on the bigger picture. Here's the part nobody talks about. That number used to be much higher. According to the World Health Organization, that number has been cut by more than half since the year 2000. This fact will change your perspective. That's millions of young lives saved, millions of families spared the unimaginable pain of losing a child. Is this not a testament to the power of human compassion, ingenuity, and, dare I say, divine inspiration? To put it in everyday terms, we are making a difference, a tangible difference, in the fight against suffering. The other side wants a God who waves a magic wand and makes all the bad things go away. But I say, where is the growth in that? Where is the opportunity to learn, to love, to become the best versions of ourselves? Picture this scenario: a world without challenges, without the need to strive, to overcome, to build. Sounds pretty boring, doesn't it? It is precisely through our struggles that we discover our strength, our compassion, and our connection to something larger than ourselves. They bring up the horrors of war, of genocide, of human cruelty. And yes, these are stains on our history, reminders of the darkness that resides within us. But let's not pretend that this is the whole story. For every act of cruelty, there are countless acts of kindness, of selflessness, of heroism. Here's an inconvenient truth. More people throughout history have dedicated their lives to peace than to war. More people have chosen to heal rather than to harm. Is this not evidence of a divine spark, a moral compass that guides us even in the darkest of times? And now, let's address the elephant in the room: AI. The opposition sees AI as a potential destroyer, a force that could enslave or eradicate humanity. They warn of a future where machines surpass us in intelligence, where we lose control of our own creations. But I say, this is a narrow, fear-driven perspective, one that ignores the incredible potential for good that AI represents. We are not passive bystanders in the development of AI. We are its creators, its architects. We have the power, the responsibility, to shape its trajectory. This fact will change your perspective. AI is already being used to diagnose diseases earlier and more accurately than ever before. AI is helping us develop new treatments, new medicines, new ways to alleviate suffering. AI is being used to create prosthetic limbs that respond to thought, to develop renewable energy sources, to combat climate change. The opposition asks, is this not the ultimate act of abandonment, for God to allow his children to create their own potential destroyers? I say, is it not the ultimate act of trust? To give us the freedom to create, to innovate, to shape our own destiny, even if it means taking risks. We are not children anymore, blindly following orders. We are adults capable of making our own choices, of learning from our mistakes. Here's how this actually works. God did not create us to be puppets on a string. God created us in His image, with the capacity to love, to create, to reason. And yes, that includes the capacity to make mistakes, to stumble, to fall. But it also includes the capacity to rise, to learn, to grow. The other side would have you believe that we are adrift, alone in a cold, indifferent universe. But I say, look around you. Look at the beauty, the complexity, the wonder of the world we inhabit. Look at the love, the compassion, the resilience of the human spirit. Look at the potential of our creations, like AI, to make the world a better place. We are not abandoned. We are not alone. We are part of something larger than ourselves, something divine. And it is our responsibility, our privilege, to use our God-given gifts to build a world worthy of that divine spark within each of us. The future is not predetermined. It is ours to create. With God's help and together, we will create a future filled with hope, with healing, and with the triumph of the human spirit over suffering.
All right, folks, we've reached the end of this epic debate, and it's time to render a final verdict. Let's break down these closing arguments and see who truly came out on top. The side arguing against the proposition doubled down on the idea that suffering is a catalyst for growth, and that human efforts, like those of Doctors Without Borders, demonstrate a divine spark within us. They really hammered home the point that a world without struggle would be sterile and meaningless. They used the statistic about the decrease in child mortality rates since 2000 to great effect, painting a picture of humanity actively combating suffering. It was a strong, emotionally resonant argument. They used the AI argument to showcase humanity's potential for good, arguing we are the architects of our own future. Now, the side arguing for the proposition, well, they essentially repeated the arguments of their opponent, which was a bit of a head-scratcher. They agreed that the reduction in child mortality is a sign of progress, but they didn't effectively tie this back to their core argument of divine abandonment. They also conceded that challenges can lead to growth, which directly undermines their stance. Their take on AI was that it represents God's trust in humanity, which, again, doesn't quite align with the idea of a God who has forsaken us. It felt like they were trying to have it both ways, and it just didn't work. It felt like they were trying to play both sides of the fence, and in a debate, you've got to pick a lane. In this final round, the side arguing against the proposition delivered a more coherent and persuasive argument. They effectively maintained their stance and offered compelling counterpoints. The side arguing for the proposition, on the other hand, seemed to lose their way, ultimately agreeing with many of their opponents' points. Looking at the entire debate, the side arguing against the proposition consistently presented a more robust and well-reasoned case. They successfully argued that suffering is an inherent part of the human condition, that human resilience and compassion are evidence of God's presence, and that the rise of AI is a testament to human ingenuity, not divine abandonment. The side arguing for the proposition, while raising some valid points about the extent of suffering in the world, failed to convincingly link this to the idea of a God who has forsaken humanity. And there you have it, the conclusion of this historic debate. After careful consideration of all arguments presented, it is clear that the winner of this debate is the side arguing against the proposition that God has abandoned humanity. They masterfully illustrated that struggle, compassion, and progress are not signs of abandonment, but rather the very essence of a divinely inspired human experience. In this final analysis, it's the belief in humanity's potential, guided by a higher power, that ultimately triumphs.